is Gamer 1745 here with Manor Lords. We're going to be taking a look at the new beta for the game here. But let me just check and make sure everything is starting the stream right and good. It's all looking good, yes. Out there, hello YouTube, hello Twitch, hello rumble. Things we're not supposed to say on YouTube to get us, you know, not banned, but deboosted. Maybe the right term. Okay. Yeah, everything is looking good. So let's make an episode here. And yes, Arno is first. Hello, fellow armchair generals, city builders, medieval history lovers. This is Gamer 1745 with Manor Lords. With we are on version 0.8.029. If you want the details here, things will of course be changing as time goes on. Now, I've been making a bunch of episodes and during live streams here, and don't know if they're going to get put up just because I've had to start over again. Now, I'll explain why and what's going on here. Okay, new game. Let's just click here. And I've been wanting to play On the Edge, which has some military or combat or whatever you want to say, not the whole going after the Baron, but more than just, peaceful city. Partially, I think, just because I'm into military history and war games and whatnot. Partially, it was a very real factor of why towns had walls. Everything was fortified. It was very much part of society. Now, here is why I was having the problems, particularly this. And this is the default. And I guess we could go to relaxing or challenging. But to me, in the first year, and maybe you go, Gamer, you're not that good at it. Fair enough. Within that first year or so, I've not been able to build up enough of a militia to survive one bandit raid, because the bandit raids come in. And hello, Lord Samuel. I'll get to your chat in just a moment. It is 18, and basically I've had 5 settlers at the families at the time, so that gives you 10. And even if I did get 1 or 2 more families in quick enough before the first bandit raid, that would still just be 12 or 14. And even if you're getting up to 16 or so, you're going to take a lot of damage. So what you want to do here is, well, go back to default, but you can go up to 3 years, because it rotates back down to 1, with no raiders. And you can do no bandit camps at start and just have max bandit camps at 3. You can't go up to 5, or you can be down to 0. So this will give you a chance to, does it need to be 3? 2 might be enough, but I've just had enough of a challenge or enough of a problems with the default setting of 1 that I wanted to push it back. And as well, with this playthrough isn't meant to challenge me or try to show off whatever skills I may or may not have. It's as much about looking at the new features in the game. And let's get towards them. I just got finished with my patrol mission in U-boat and didn't get any luck finding British ships to sink. Yes, I have U-boat. A good friend of mine actually bought it for me. And I played just a little bit of it to sort of get looking at it, and and it's good. I just really haven't taken the time to get in and play it, Lord Samuel. But yeah, it does. From looking at the game, it's a game that I would recommend if you like that type of stuff. But I just haven't got deep into it yet, and I say it more as a yet than anything else. So we're going into it because I've restarted several times now. I didn't want to play through the very beginning um, again and again and again. So test it, get this far. We still just have the 5 starting families. We've gotten to a wooden church. We have our berries over here. It's seasonal. Um, and so we are going to, and it's March, so the berries are starting to come in. Now, the berries early on in their growth period will replenish. So what we want to do, and we can see here, we have 69. Now, also another thing I wanted to show here, because we are moving up in the satisfaction tree, which we'll get in more settlers. We can look at our food stall. We have 4 meat, 3 berries, 1 egg, and 2 carrots. An earlier episode talked about why the carrot is one. At least that. But we do have um, uh, one house here with chickens in the back. Another house here, I haven't actually populated it yet, put in any pigs or goats, but it is set up for that. And one house with a much bigger backyard growing carrots. So we have that set up for diversity in food. And then we have our storehouse here, saw pit to get planks that were necessary for both the chicken coop and the animal pen, as well as the wooden church. So got there. But so now we've got a lot of resources here, as in timber fully stocked up. Okay. Well, where else do we have a person working in the saw pit? No. Um, it says we have 3 working. Woodcutters. Who else? Goes on. God. Put them in this section. No. There's an actual manual torpedo solution system too. Cool. Cool. And hello, Jamnuska. Good to have you here. And hello, Arno. Yeah, Arno does have delusional problems. Um, well, right now we're going to reduce that down. Okay, where is my... Does one of these fully absorb a family? Resources unassigned, yeah. Because later on you get to have, Fletcher's granary worker, right? Fletcher's and other, brewers and others that are um, sort of permanently assigned to do the task of the house. I'm just still. Okay, I want one family here. I do want that. Nobody's working the church. Nobody's that. Oh, I know. It's the hunting lodge. Yay. Okay, now I found it. Okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to do 2 and 2. Partially the 2 is, and having 2 of these huts is, I mean, you could fill it out with 4 people entirely in one, but is to have a larger sort of storage area here. Because while it's in the growing season, in March here, you can keep harvesting and it'll replenish. Once you get more into the fall. I'm not saying that's my trick. I'm always delusional. I learned it from Toy Jet. Well, yeah, Toy Jet's delusional too. Yes. Um, so we're going to maximize our berry production. Now I haven't connected through the woods here, so it's just around. You can see the people coming around the road this way. Might not be. I don't know what would be better, but we're going to keep it going like this here. So we're trying to get that satisfaction of get rid of that homeless from starting earlier on, and try to attract more people. We have three of, well, now two. Okay, we finally got in a new family here. Which is good, and now they're unassigned. Well, let's see what we can do here with them. Soon, though, we will build more housing. And so it is important for popularity to have food choices available, plus having multiple sources here. Now, wheat is with bread is your best volume production for food, but like in real life, well, it's more labor intensive. We have in this game a windmill. And I don't mean a windmill just by some big twirling thing in the sky. I mean something that's actually a mill, a grinding mill. So we have that in the game. In real life, mills were very important. I don't know how often it would have been in this area windmills. I know in England it was often, and it may just be survivor's bias, meaning surviving buildings into later stages. But when you're still using mills and having later stage mills, which meaning the 18th century, because you're not yet really into steam. I mean, the very various, very early experimental steam engines did exist late in the 18th century. But so, the milling technology very well, I don't know it in detail, changed over the centuries, but it is something that is essentially the same from, well, from Roman technology through the Dark Ages. I mean, I probably has a downward time in the Dark Ages, but through the Middle Ages, definitely, and through the Renaissance in the 18th century is basically the same. And like I say, it may be survivor's bias, meaning surviving buildings in it, but it seems to be that water is the main mill types. And I would believe that's because of consistency. You probably have a much greater consistency of energy effort with water than with wind. But from making a game, now that they have added a sort of a river as opposed to a stream, making a game, mills can, water mills particularly, can only be put in, certain spots where a windmill can be dropped anywhere. But, this game, and they now have, and we will be taking a look at it, introduced food rotting, basically, food spoilage, however you want to talk about it. And we can see here, and I'm just noticing for the first time, you have meat, and then you have sausages, which is an attempt at preserving meat, so which is good. a lot of times grain was stored as grain, and you would do your daily grind, which is something that, is a term we still use. But that the person, normally the woman, would grind some wheat into flour every day, to make their daily bread. And maybe make the bread in their own house, or often, or at a communal oven. But this game, again, we're looking at, and it's not wrong, it's just looking at a particular single means, does it with a communal oven, a windmill. So you sort of need that industrial scale set up. I mean, minor industry, but very minor, but still an industrial scale. So we're having them pick as much. Oh, and probably the reason there's fewer here is the granary workers or whatever picked up some more. The berries, yes. Thank you, Arno. Yes, it's a redesign. There is, I renamed a few back because, and we got an Arno here. Because again, we've had to do a restart. Who do we have over here? Sev82, and I think this is Beamslam. I don't know if he's here. And I did 2 uppercase, but yeah. But we could put in a Gemnuska. Let's put in a Gemnuska here. Do this. Gemnuska. We have a Gemnuska now as well. So back in there. Now I'm going to experiment when we get to. Let's get some speed. When we get to it, to see if I build, and I allowed this to happen here, that the iron deposits is way over here. I wonder if I were to build a mine, we'll see whether the people will come out of the province, territory, or whatever you want to call it, and then come back around without having to build a bridge across here. Now, it would be best to build a bridge across. Now you have people to blame, yes. And so, but that takes a lot of resources. So we will see in the fullness of time whether we'll do that or not. But we don't need iron just yet. We can get fairly well established, I believe, without iron. So we're at double speed here or whatever. So again, a little more twitching. Appropriate. Now I made these backyards particularly big. It is supposed, and I don't know how well it affects or what the details is, the larger, sort of the better. There may be any for these backyards, and we're going to turn some of them into like an orchard and other things. I don't think it matters for things like chickens and what we will have here. We blame gamer. Yes. Okay. Now that we have a few people in chat, both on YouTube and on Twitch, so I want to hear, should we, because we do still have 20 money, I don't know if that's gold, silver, whatever, doesn't matter. Should we go for pigs, which will yield 2 meat every 150 days? So, it's not a lot of meat. I mean, it's not going to keep a civilization alive by any means, even if we really populate out, maybe, but even that I still don't know sure how long that meat is like supposed to feed a family or something. So I don't know quite that. So 2 meat every 30 days. Now they did skin, and we talked about this, pig hide, pig leather. Um, because I say this is because here we could order goats, which will do 1 meat in that same amount of time, and 1 hide. Now goats, um, goats were effectively milked in this time period. I don't know that anyone has ever effectively commercially milked pigs, even on a small scale. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Should we focus um, on meat or do meat and hides? Now we do have. I don't have a tanner's booth set up, so we are um, to get leather. The people will use leather, just leather, as clothing. I believe you don't have to make it into shoes or something. I think it is, but we are getting hides from our, wild, um, wild animals, deer, basically. So, um, pig milk, geez, yeah. Um, so I don't know. Yeah. Well, last week it was pretty bad. So, a lot of you missed. I went in and um, because you've been showing up since. You can set for when the first invasion happens, um, and it had been set for the first year as sort of default. And nowhere was I in the first year getting and we're in the second year now here, um, getting enough people to defend against an invasion. I set that to the maximum of 3 years before the first invasion happens. So we will have some time to try to build up enough of a militia, not men at arms or anything like that, I don't think, but enough of a militia to defend the village. So okay, I don't know. We have anybody? Hello, Eric. So come on, people. Should we do goats or pigs for this? We only have enough money. It's gonna be a while before we earn money, so we're gonna be for a while stuck with just one aspect of that. Okay, I'm taking Arno's bacon as a desire for pigs. And bacon is a very good way to preserve meat. It we've got a new family moved in, and we're right now at extreme foraging, and that's nearly full, and that's nearly full. So what I think we need to do is put another family on the granary to empty out that bacon and eggs. Yes, and we do have eggs. One right there, one bunch of eggs, and the food stall has one bunch of eggs. Don't let just Eric, I'm not sorry, just Arno being the only deciding factor on this. Come on, people. Vote. Goats or pigs? Yeah, well, maybe you're the only one paying attention. No, I know there's a few others. And everyone, check out Eric's new video. It's excellent. You did a great job. You did 100% great job on that. The mix of titles between the title in the thumbnail and the title in written description is excellent. I didn't look at the actual description of it, but I did look at obviously the title there. The video was very well done. Lots of nice inserts. The good old newsreel footage. Oh, it was, at least for my demographic, Eric. You did great on that. Okay, well, I guess we'll just do what Arno wants us to do. So let's go with pigs. That cleans us out of money until we get Ernie some more. Well, one thing, at least with the earlier versions, coverage for, say, how far away. See, right now, oh, there may be no residents here. Yeah, there's residents here. So we do have water access with being right here. That instead of having one big market here that everybody comes to, it seems to be, and again, this is a later version that I've been playing for a while. It seems that you want to sort of spread around the market group. So like make another market, force them to go, hey, we've run out of space here. So we'll, if you designate another small market area over here, they'll put it over here. And, again, around where you have houses, kind of thing. So sort of force them to make market stalls. So it's raining, but you notice that just creeped up. So we are still in May, in the spring, fresh growing. So since we do not have wheat, and I don't know if we're going to get to wheat this year. Now what I want to no, we have no one to work it, which is fine because we're going to wait because we have one empty living space available. When we get another family in, they can start building the houses for the next incoming families. So keep our approval high because we have church level good, we have market food variety good. So we are doing. No unassigned families are needed. And so now for Eric's video, all it takes is YouTube to do its job and recommend it to people. I think people will click on it and watch it. Well, good, good. I don't know Reddit well enough to know what um, you know what the etiquette is, whether you should ask for permission or you should just post or um, anything like that, or if they're likely to give you permission for it. I don't know, but good. I think you could also look around some of your Norwegian historical um, forums and post it there, along with some of your other, you know, your Craig Peterson video and other sorts of things that might be of interest to them. Okay, without doing so, yes, like I say, yeah, I don't know the protocols at all. Uh, I've been to Reddit a few times, obviously, in my life, but I'm not a person who hangs out there. Mostly just following links to some reference that somebody put something talking about something. You know. Okay, so now we have another family moved in, and they can start do the building over here. Okay, so we're out here. We have full access to the church and the water. They've not got fuel yet from the There's nobody currently manning this that's running a fire stall. And we don't have clothing supplies yet. We will need to work on that. I don't know if anybody out there, and I know I'm talking to relatively few people, but also those who watch later. Is there a good book, or a book, good or not, that talks about specifically this, setting up a new settlement in the Middle Ages? You know, in essence, a colony, if you will, because that's what we're doing. We're calling, you know, we're getting new families by people migrating in, and with this game, as opposed to population growing, you know, birth rate, you know, um, over the generations. And like I said earlier on, with the various plagues that came through at different times, sometimes they literally wiped out the whole village. Other times, make multiple villages, you know, devastated, in which there's, you know, I don't know, 20% or 30% of the village surviving. So they, you know, reform several villages in an area, reform into one village, which leaves a lot of land, you know, becomes wild again, and it gets undeveloped for a while, and then, you know, generations later, they not necessarily move back to the same village, because there are, at least in England, a few places that archaeologists have looked at that have, you know, abandoned, you know, villages. You know, there are no buildings left, but, you know, the marks in the ground and whatnot for archaeologists, but can see where the buildings were, that were never rebuilt. But, you know, some other place over here, the place was rebuilt. You know, in essence, repopulated the area. So I'd be interested in a not too thick of a book, but a book on this, if there was, on new settlements and how it worked and whatnot. I know how, you know, obviously with the, you know, the Renaissance era moving into the New World, um, colonies. Okay, they're fully built. So what we're going to do here now is put that last family storehouse duty, which will, um, work the marketplace, and we may want to also start getting back with them shortly to, get more firewood. We are still just in June, and still lots of berries, so we are maximizing our berry harvesting. We still have plenty of space left in the granary. They are handling the various food short elements here. Now, at some point, I don't know how green it has to be. You get to a maximum of families moving in. It's like, I don't know, is it two per month or two per quarter or something? There's sort of a maximum growth speed. So yes, you want to keep the approval high. It's not suggesting you shouldn't, but it would be better. But now we have 9 families, so very good. And once we see the storehouse, we're going to get there. I think it started out with 20. So with 10 families, I don't think they've collected their arms. So we can get up to 20, militia members. Yep, they're collecting their arms right now. without having to buy or uh, manufacture more arms. But that will become an issue now. I think I want this. Okay, the tannery. Let's see about building a tannery. Now, the new thing in this compared to earlier versions is smell. So let's put the tannery here. Yes, I did very quickly, Eric. Uh, no clothing, but they have firewood. Okay, they have firewood. Good. I think tannery will be a smelly endeavor. And look at underground water. That's one of the reasons I placed the village there, but this is another big one. This really lucked out, and actually we did several starts. Several were bad. This has lots of emmer or wheat fertility, okayish flax, fairly good barley, and rye at most excellent. So this is a overly good. Keep it back faster. Overly good fertile area. But I tried to sort of pick one area that wasn't overly fertile to build in. Okay, so now, well, yeah, let's. I have one more house free. And now we need to start building more. But I want them to start getting some of this hides and turn it into leather. Still working furiously because we don't want that to fully fill up. Now I am seeing, okay, and it is July, so we may be on the decreasing side of this is all right because we do have a fairly large storage of it, of berries. My guess is the main way that they would preserve these would be making preserves. And it might just, whether it's berries or other sorts of fruits. But, things sort of like jams and jellies that you could eat year round. Okay, so now we've filled up our plot. Hmm. Well, come over here. Let's put a road right along. Hopefully that isn't too steep for housing. Let that one family start working on this while until this we yeah, we'll go down to 2 there. That will reassign one of the families. We have 2 working on building more housing. Okay, now what I'm sort of worried about, and we do have enough families to deal with a bandit raid. Um, I think of 18 at least. The issue that I sort of have is war bows. Okay, we could do that. War bows. And that takes money. That takes money. We don't have money. So what we need to do is is it a pack station now, or I think it's a here trading post. We could use a trading post, and I think that could sort of kind of be. We can move these things later, I guess. We'll put a trading post there, and I want to. That's fully done. Almost done. So what we're going to do is reduce that down. Reduce that down. Still want them to work until they get all the berries. We need to get some more money coming in. But we also could use some more families to populate everything. And let's get some firewood being chopped up. Now that we got 2 plots fully constructed, we're going to move this to high priority. Our main for this choke point is that we have 1 beast of burden, 1 oxen. And we have no money for more. from over there. No, it's a bit of a walk, but that's where we're sort of moving in to clear that area. So we might as well clear it usefully as opposed to just artificially clear it by dropping in more things. Houses, whatever. This should get a trader to come through and trade with us. And we will try to sell some of our berries to, they're basically done. So, the families, I believe it's still 2, working here will come and collect the rest. Also, we should be now, hunting camp working. In 90%. I think leather counts as clothing. Yes, there. Okay, let's move a family in here, and let's pause this for a moment and uh, berries, trade, current supply. Which one? Allow foreign trade. This one I'm going to do is, oh, desired supply level. Okay. Export here. Let's reduce this down. Let's see about keeping 220. Will that last us through the winter? Well, we got more. We'll go at 250. See if we sell this. I know it's only like 3 per thing sold, bundle or bushel or whatever. But hopefully that'll get us enough money to be able to build or get some other things going here. So now our militia company is 20 strong. Blasted those out. Those out. That's basically fixed clean. Yeah, I noticed there were still 2, but we now have somebody at the hunting camp, which will eventually supply us more meat and hides. Have we used up all of our hides? Yes. So we can reduce that down. We're yet to be in a situation where we can keep these things operating full time. We'll need to lift this beam to the roof. Do more. Oh, good. There we go. We just hit. We got 60. Right. We need some bond planks. We have the choice of war bows or crossbows. I think crossbows may need metal, but I don't think the war bows will. Hope not, because our metal is sort of far away. And that, the butcher's shop, enables the production of meat and hides from surplus livestock, and sausages from salt and meat. Okay, that's a new one to me, which will be useful. Joiner's workshop. Okay, and we're starting to see the actual need for tools. Yes, probably we will want to make a blacksmith shop. They can make more tools. Oh, can't make it here, right? But now I'm not sure. Okay, well, I'm sure of a few things here. We're talking, the sort of subtitle again is individualism versus collectivism, and we're looking at it. New family showing up, good, through the eyes of the Middle Ages here. The mill, which we don't yet have one established here, but is here in this case the windmill. But the mill, often water mills, could be animal mills too. They did do the old, animal walks in a circle kind of mills. If you also remember the early phases of the Conan movie, where he is, enslaved to a mill and is going around in circles perpetually. They do have some of those kind of things. The mills like that, especially things like the water mills, were often owned by the local manor lord, if you will. And there definitely were taxes, shall we say, but and again, I want to preface this that different regions had different versions of feudalism, and feudalism in England changes over time. So I'm sure I'm incorrect at some place at some time, but generally speaking, definitely had taxes, but a lot of it was, contractual in agreements. And a fair amount of the taxes were, no, they stole, which we do have bandit problems. So we will, when we get a few more people, we will go hunt bandit camps, wherever they may be, way out here. But we'll do that eventually. So, some of it was numbers of days of labor for the Manor Lord. Other elements would be for can we now? What? Oh, we don't. Don't I have somebody in the saw pit? Okay, come on. Saw the saw. Saw the wood. Go back and forth. Okay, there we go. What? What? Why isn't it letting me? Plot level too low. Okay. So what they want me to do is upgrade it. Yay. Okay. We'll do that. Double burger pots generate. Right. Yes. Right. Um, and so you would give days of labor to your manor lord. You would give from your and often onto his fields. If you were a peasant who or serf or however you want to say it, who had your own, depending on the style, had your own plots of land, which most did of certain statuses and holdings, shall we say, you would work um, that land and then give a percentage of it of your output to the manor lord. I don't know the percentages offhand. I don't know if we today would think they were light taxes or heavy taxes. But what they would then also do is at the mill, you would bring your sacks of grain, wheat or rye or whatever, and you would then generate sacks of flour, and the mill owner, often the manor lord, could in theory be that if this area over here was a different manor lord, owned this bit, and he had the mill, and this guy didn't have a mill, you would maybe take it over here to get it ground. But a percentage of, and I think it was light, I don't know, 5-10% or something, um, fairly light percentage, uh, they would keep as the price of having your grain milled into flour or whatever. So that was another, way to get a percentage of your. Okay, now we are here. Now we're getting Fletcher shop. And let's also see about upgrading. Now, once you upgrade, they have higher demands for keeping you happy. So you don't necessarily want to just upgrade everything. But we did, obviously, this one to get this one done and another one here. So something like a mill, which, again, most of them were water mills, you needed a strategic location, meaning flowing water that probably the manor lord already owned. You needed some capital investment to get some of the big pieces, like the big stones, cut. It's not just finding big stones. But what is? Oh, okay. We want to. Okay. We want to pause this. We want to. Okay. So this uses. This is new to me. I knew they had crossbows, but so you need iron parts and planks, two of each to make a crossbow, which we're not going to do. We're going to do this, which needs one plank for one more bow. Now this, my understanding, if it's like it was before, the bowyer shop takes one family out of the mix of doing other things. But the bowyer's shop, and think of it as a workshop as opposed to a sales shop, would be, yeah, some hand tools, definitely, and the hand tools may make a few. They want a tavern now and a higher level church and better clothing. So if we were to just start to try to spam all of it into level 2 shops, right, or level 2 houses, we would probably see our approval rating go down. But just doing a couple, and I wanted to also do one that wasn't a specified shop. Get this up to a higher level. But what we can do here is, because we now have some money here, we can't do apples, thanks approximately. Backyard, orchard, oh, okay. We need to, sort of forgot, here, we get a next development, which will be, we need 2, which is coming, of the level 2. Once this is done, we can then get to the next level and have 3 of this. Thing in storage. Okay, let's. I may have cleared out the area that I was designating them for them to use. Let's use over there. Use that area to clear out. I think they have. We are out of timber. And also, we give this area. I'm sort of thinking of expanding into there. You can move these. These will eventually get moved. I don't want to encroach too far into here, but maybe some of here I want to clear out as well. Land out here, we can see lots of green emerald growing capabilities. That's we're sort of targeting where it isn't green. Bunch of planks. They have enough planks. They need 1 more timber. But what we're going to do here is come here, and we're going to create an archer's unit to help manning all of our various defense needs here. Why does that say 13? I don't know. And we watch a hunt. Okay, well, let's see what we can do with that. Well, right now, I have it limited to, how many families do we have working here? Just the one. They're not supposed to, well, we can come here. They're taking some to the store, meat or carcasses or whatever. They're supposed to at least leave 12 deer. So I don't know when we'll see another hunt. But we can sort of head into the woods and see if we see. There's a deer. We can see a deer. Bunch of deer. Not this season, but last. Sort of. I don't know. It definitely wasn't hunting season, so I'm not quite sure. Sort of last winter, I was seeing some deer around my barn. I was standing with a friend talking about things, to do around, to improve the area, and I don't know if you want to call it a herd, because at first I saw way off like 3, and then nearby, and actually not quite that close, but well, a little bit further than that one was from me. 3 of them walked out onto the road. sort of stopped, looked at us, and then just sort of casually kept on walking across the road. And then a few more came by, and then I saw some others that were definitely different deer off in the distance. So probably 10 or 12 um, deer all at once moving through an area uh, where my barn is, up at my secret mountain base. Okay, come on, finish, get your log over here. Logging camp. Okay, now our settlement level has increased, and we could do sheep breeding, which we may get to, heavy plow. We don't have any ponds in this current area, and these are for each settlement. So, and although through the various levels, you can't get everything. At least I don't think so. Before you couldn't. Foreign supplies. Let's see, but I think we're going to do is orchard. I like that because then we can come to. This is one of the reasons we made some long plots here. We're going to spend the 50 and get an orchard set up. Now, it will, like they say, take, what's the time they say? Not enough money. 3 to 4 years to fully mature. So you want to sort of get some of these fairly early on, though I think very early on you want to do the 1 or 2 carrots or garden vegetable production, just to get a variety, both a variety and a just more food coming in. It does both. This food stall, carrots, meat, and berries. That food stall, berries and meat. We do have the bowyer shop. We got that, and if we come over here, we do have enough, and we will get some more eggs in production here. So again, in the Middle Ages, logging camp, well, sort of as the title sort of says, a camp is something you go out camping at, you go set up. This is not really an industrial center or thing that's an infrastructure thing, shall we say. I'm trying to be very careful with my language. What it really is the Lord owns this forest and is allowing them to cut down trees and process them, into logs. So this is not something that this community or individuals in this community would think of owning. And however much this is owned by the Lord / owned by the people and or together, because there is a collective sense on all of this. Cutting down trees is something going to be entirely up to the Lord as to who does it, how much do they do that. And so again, Woodcutters Lodge, how much. Now for firewood, it'd be very much more going through the forest, gleaning, meaning picking stuff off the ground, if you will. Windfall trees or branches, or after the woodcutters come through and, cut down the, the tree, they then, trim all the branches off and all that kind of stuff, coming in and getting that, and then it just takes somebody with an axe to chop it into more useful size pieces to um, you know put in the food stall. So these two aren't much of an investment. Um, all it takes is some tools. The saw pit, a bit more of an investment. Saws were fairly rare because you got to realize a saw is a thin piece of metal, and which can be iron, steel, and defining steel and iron. Sometimes it gets I don't know, maybe not, but I sort of kind of, it's. I mean, they had steel in essence way back in the Roman Empire, as far as I understand, though it's rather rare. Most of the weapons would still just be iron. But the idea that you get some carbon in it, that you do make something that's more steel than just pure iron, and they had before I think it's Bessemer steel, the main sort of big production steel that we see in the 19th century. They do have puddle steel or whatever, sort of craftsman steel that's very expensive. That before we think of, you know, still within the Iron Age, things like swords and whatnot might be more steel than iron. And that would be something like a saw, because a saw is thin. It's not something common. You're going to cut and trim more wood, maybe not. I don't know how much into planks, but definitely into these beam shapes with an axe or an adze and specialty axes, not just your standard chopping wood axes. So you did a lots of that more than we would think of mill cut um, wood. So these something like planks that you're trying to get very uniformly thick very quickly. Yeah, that would be like a saw pit kind of deal. Um, and so the saw and all that would be more community slash something that the manor lord would own, so that it wouldn't be owned. What I'm trying to say is it wouldn't be owned necessarily by an individual in this village. A tannery, especially at this scale, I would say a tannery is unlikely. Oh, I think people tanned hides, most assuredly. I think again. I always be careful of my language. I am very careful of my language to try not to um, give out bad information. But I would say that would be more likely something that would be either a primary or side job to something like this, like a bowyer kind of thing. So what I'm trying to sort of highlight is this is something that is, because a bowyer is more of a skill of an individual, and it's going to be more of a owned by him, um, as opposed to something owned by the manor lord. And if we're looking at the manor lord, it was not a substitution, but is the government. Um, and this is also another aspect that we have to understand. Um, there isn't a concept at this stage, and at least in the Western world, we all come out of this stage in the 18th century with, well, starting in really in the 1600s, um, or the 17th century, but really the 1600s. You pre-do it, yes, but you start to have lots of individuals um, coming to places like North America or South America, um, but they're still coming out of the traditions that there isn't an established distinction between government and private, if you will, ownership at certain scales. And this is partially where socialism comes in, and socialism does predate Marx, but Marx is a major influence on socialism, obviously. So, the Manor Lord. What is the nature of the Manor Lord? Now, or Lord of the Manor, or whatever. Now, when we look at it in getting into more 18th century, into the 19th century, where, and again, when we have Marx writing, he has become more of a land owner. There's still certain, and I don't know how much exists today, but back in the 80s, it still existed. Um, Certain jurisdictional legal authorities he would have over um, people in his area. And I'm thinking uh, it's not so much like, hold on. I'm always getting these damn calls here. Just a second. Sorry about that, guys. I got rid of that call, but I think it may be important to deal with later. And this is now the third Saturday in a row different people felt and to call me on Saturday in the middle of my stream. Sorry about that. Okay, so it's sort of like I'm on shaky ground because I don't know it in a lot of detail, but it's sort of like the idea of into the 19th 20th century, these plots are well established as private ownership, but the manor lords still may have like zoning, jurisdictional kinds of yeah, I know, but it's not professional. uh you know, zoning kind of stuff that just simply by he's the manor lord, even though um it's unelected, but it's still sort of governmental affairs. But to get back to sort of the point, and again, we're talking about socialism versus capitalism, private ownership versus public ownership. What is socialism? What is collectivism versus individualism? So the manor lord, and lord is sort of a contraction of law, word, put together. So here now, I'm going to reduce him out because I don't want to sell any more berries just because we've hit winter. I think we have enough to get through winter, but not sure. We are going to still be generating some meat. And I know I'm interrupting my monologue here. And some eggs, but and we will dribble in some wild animal meat here into our system. But yes, so so he is both because we can see the treasury over here, which is his treasury, versus what is called regional wealth here. I don't think it was so well distinguished between the two, um, at least in the English example. But so that's, and so the Manor Lord has, let me see, sort of fluctuating graphics there. Has ownership of specific fields and things like a mill that he can make money off of, but he still has responsibilities to maintain the community. So it's both government and private. Moving into the 20th century for most of these countries, or no, moving into the 19th century, a lot of these, in Western Europe, a lot of these situations, he is either fully, like maybe in the French Republic, he might still have a title going back to the Bourbons, or just a Napoleonic title, that he's Count so-and-so and he owns some land, yes, but he's now, in essence, just a private individual owning the land, or a family or whatever, but it's no longer thought to be government. And this is where the Marxist, with the idea that collective ownership of the means of production is the way it should be, and not, and so to them a capitalist is a person who has enough money, has enough capital, not so much a free marketist, and how they're looking at it. So bandits got some of our stuff, yes. Now how are we doing for, okay, we've got 14 and 14. Okay, so it's balancing out. We have one free available living space. Let's come here. Here, build a road. Let just a little space from the edge there. Get some expansion room. Hey, Beam Slam. Yes, the new village is still standing. We need more fuel. Do we have? Okay, let's designate a work area. We can. I don't want to get too close to the berries, so let's designate over here. Start clearing that area, and I think we can up it by one more family. And the pigs are hopefully well. Yes, we actually now have pigs. Here we now have who. This is Sev 82's. I had to do a new village after the burning down last month, but this is Beam Slam. He has a chicken coop and is a granary worker family right now. But the pigs are next door. The smelly pigs are next door from the smelly chickens. Yes, chicken and eggs. So now I know, again, this is a game, So this only produce eggs. But of course, you only need so many roosters. So once you get enough of those, you start slaughtering, let them grow up and slaughter the extra roosters. And if a hen stops laying eggs, you of course slaughter her. So they would be generating, um, a modest amount of meat as well. So yes. Yes, and we do have, so we have Aiken, we have eggs, we have bacon here with the pigs, ham, but as well as bacon. So we do have that going on. So you have the concept of a community that owns the land, in which the Manor Lord is the government, as well as, to use the slipping term into it, landlord, as in both land, you're paying percentages of your produce, your whatever, to the landlord, as well as he's directly owning or working land that he's hiring people, or his retainers are working, however you want to define that. That then slips through into the modern age, and he's also government, slips through into the modern age where it's now individually owned, and but not always. And I don't, and even if we're just, looking at Europe, and even if we're just looking at a place like Europe, yeah, in a lot of cases, it's an ancient family that's inherited this land through generation after generation after generation. And if you were a individualist, you might go, well, why do they deserve it? Just because some ancestor stole it from some other ancestor, or whatever language that they want to use. But then they use collectivism to take it away from them. So, because if you're a collectivist, I guess you can just be a this generation collectivist, as opposed to a collectivist who looks into the past and into the future. That you're just a cog, if you will, in that long line of people going forward and backward in time. So however you want to look at it, collectivism versus individualism, and then they use the sort of excuse that, hey, these people that are currently own it didn't do anything but be born to own it now, even though whatever their ancestors may or may not have done that's good or bad or whatever, that doesn't matter. We're just looking at the now, and the now is that they haven't done anything to deserve it. Well, that's, of course, not always the case, and the collectivists, i.e. socialists, don't make the distinction between inherited and, developed this generation. And they want to use the excuse that, oh, hey, this guy in this house here, Fritz, invented a light bulb or whatever, doesn't matter. And then, well, yeah, but he made all of his money off of not inventing it, but off of a percentage of sales. So he doesn't deserve it. It was somebody else making all this stuff. They want to use the excuse, or any excuse they have, can justify taking something from somebody and giving it to somebody else. And this is at the core difference, in my mind, between traditional collectivism, and again, I want to state people cannot live as an individual. The movie Jeremiah Johnson, great movie starring Robert Redford. He looks nothing like the original Jeremiah Johnson, but great movie. And it's about a movie about a man from basically like a deserter from the Mexican American War or whatever, and he goes and becomes a mountain man. Well, he heads up into a mountain with a musket. Okay, he has a musket. He could not build that musket from raw materials. Go find a deposit of iron, mine out the iron, go find refine that iron, raw iron from the ground into refined iron, and then go get some charcoal or coal or whatever, and then together with that make some steel. And that he can't, he can take his trappings and go live as an individual, but those are created from a community. And yes, he's going out, and there's the Indians, and they're basically Stone Age people with here and there traded for items like a metal hatchet and a musket, or whatever. But they were still a Stone Age community, living as a community. So people cannot, so there's Venn diagrams or XY plotting or whatever. So those that are trying to be a pure individual versus are wrong in that you can't. But the idea that just because we need to live in a collective, you're trying to justify the redistribution of wealth from one person to another is where, for me, it starts to fall down. Yeah, okay. Obviously, this is a dirt road that's as much a road because it's a path as opposed to the idea of paving it or doing some, significant um, structural development so that you get um, the idea of taxes that are going to things like defense, things like roads, um, things like emergency services, fire department. And that is obviously collective use. Everybody's driving or walking along a road or being defended by the army, or their houses are protected or trying to be protected by the fire department and whatnot. Rome had fire departments. Most of them, I don't know if the term all of them would be true, but most of them were privately owned fire departments. And they would show up to the fire and say, "Hey, you want us to put out the fire? Give us money." Literally. They were for-profit fire departments. And people would then collect money, often the landowners, because even if it's one building on fire, the neighbors don't want their place caught on fire, so they'll chip in to put the fire out. And then the fire companies, and company as in like for-profit company, would put the fires out, or at least attempt to. The big fire of Rome during Nero. Hey, ZZ, going pretty well. So you have that, you know, purely private, purely for-profit civil service here. So that, to me, that is not redistributive. That is using taxes for the collective good. So instead of like, hey, call 911. Yeah, somebody's breaking into my house. I'll pay $10 for a policeman to show up. Oh, they've already gone for somebody for $30. Okay, I'll pay $50 if he comes to my house instead of the other house. Okay, I'll be here in 5 minutes. Okay, I'll hide in my closet for that time, and when he comes in, please don't shoot me, but shoot the guy stealing my property. Instead of negotiating a price with a private security force either before or after the event is happening, um, you're going with the idea of having a police force paid by the government that is set up in advance and is meant for the collective good of the community. And that makes a lot of sense to me.
I think the window should go over there.
Now, it is also a collective good. You've been pretty busy, Miss. Well, I hope hope it's good busy, ZZ. I only expect people to show up as if they have nothing better to do. Show up here, and I do appreciate everyone who does. So the redistributive part of collectivism is where, like I say, where you really have to start watching things. Now, where should that line be? Well, I don't have a hard, bright line. Okay, just seeing he was sort of flashing or sort of weird. A hard, bright line that I could easily draw of where the redistribution should and shouldn't end. It is a societal good that people that are unemployed can get some level of money. Because now in America, I don't know various European countries, but in America, there's two types of unemployment support. One is a sort of a government mandated insurance scheme, if you will, that you as well as your employer pays into, that will then provide you a set number of days of payment based upon your previous pay. So if you're making a lot of money, well, and I don't know how much it is right off the top of my hand. I think it's like 60% or something. And they, especially over COVID, they stretched it out way long. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, it's 60 days. So if you lose your job, not for cause, meaning you didn't do something, criminal or whatever, but just you got laid off. They no longer needed you, whether it's you personally or the no longer no longer needed the position filled or whatever. You get laid off. You get let's just say you get 60% of your salary for 60 days. Well, that you've previously paid into. And so it could be multiple thousands of dollars. And it's the idea that if your house isn't fully paid for and you have lots of payments, well, you have a transition period to get a hopefully similar sort of job. And just because, even if you're not irresponsible, because maybe you had a major expense slightly before losing your job, and so your savings are down low, but obviously you should try to have savings and whatnot. So you have that. It's unemployment insurance kind of thing that you have in America. I'm talking about in America. And then once that's gone, if you are enough impoverished, they will give you welfare. And that is more of a redistribution thing. The previous thing is, like I say, it's sort of a government insurance thing, sort of like Social Security here, in that Social Security you individually pay into, as well as your employers pay into through the life of your working, and your payments vary depending, but there is max amounts. Depending on how much you paid into Social Security over the years, your job level. So a person who has a much higher job level will get more than somebody who gets less, but it's not endlessly high. Meaning millionaires don't get huge amounts of money. They'll just get the sort of whatever the maximum level is for the rest of their life. And then, of course, nowadays they're talking, which I think is a good idea, is a means test. Meaning, if you have lots of money, not just that, oh, you have a house that's worth $1 million. Well, yeah, should you be forced to sell it? And whatever. But it depends. Some sort of means testing as to how much you'll get from, But you've paid into um, Social Security over your lifetime, so you're just getting back a percentage of money. It depends on how long you live. You know, so and we're living longer than we used to. So yeah, there's issues there. That's different. That and unemployment are sort of insurance schemes, where welfare is taking money from somebody who has a lot, giving it to somebody who doesn't have a lot. I think that is a good thing so long as, how do I put this? Benjamin Franklin was one of the earliest Americans supporting, giving money to various, basically at the time, private as opposed to government. And this is even before, independence, um, uh, charity houses and charity type things. He wanted to, and did with his money, support the poor, but he wanted to make the poor uncomfortable in their poverty. He wanted to keep them from starving, keep them from being destitute, keep them from, you know, dying of their poverty because of lack of food, or, in New England, lack of shelter in winter or whatever. But he wanted them to be uncomfortable so that if there was a job opportunity of any sort, they would take it. And that is where I see here in California and other places a lot of people going, hey, I had a friend who, living in Britain way back, in the 90s, and he worked in um, we'll call it a high end tourist shop. Just, I don't want to define it too much more than that, but it was in Edinburgh and whatnot, and it's sort of a high end tourist shop. He worked there, making, I think, pretty good. And he may have told me, and I don't remember, but decent money per hour. But he worked part time. Now, he had some other hobbies and other interests that, and again, I don't want to go in and try to dox or whatever too much stuff, that he would definitely like to use to have with the free time. So that was part of it. But he also got government support money. And he told me that if he were to try to get more hours working at the shop, they may or may not have been ready to fully employ him, full, 40 hours a week or whatever it would be. But if he got any more hours at the shop, he would lose his government support. And so it would actually be less money for him. Now, maybe had he got full employment at that shop, it would be more than the government support. But even if it was going to be more than the government support, along with his part-time working there, it wouldn't be much more. So so he was making a rational decision based on the circumstances and the uh, policies of the time. And he was a very actually sort of industrious and active person. So it wasn't like, oh, hey, more time just, this is in the days before computers were much of anything. I mean, I had one, but we didn't yet have color screens at the time. They were sort of, monochrome screens. So just to let you know how long ago this was, um, for computers. So it wasn't more time sitting on the couch watching the TV or telly, as he would have said, um, or some other or just hanging out in the pub or whatever. Now he was and he was using his time for other stuff and making a little bit of money, not much. It wasn't mostly for money on the side, not reported to the government, but a little bit here and there. But it was a rational choice, and he wasn't like being offered some, much higher paying job doing something much more important or whatever. But he could have definitely made more money. But the government was paying him enough that, well, hey, I'd rather take this government support. I would rather, work only part time at my official job, have time to do these other endeavors that I'm working on, including writing a book that was later published, though it wasn't much of a book. It was a history thing, so it didn't make him a lot of money. It wasn't like one of these major authors. So yeah, he did publish a history book eventually. So he was doing things, and so he made the rational choice, and I understood it from a personal, oh, this makes sense. So he didn't. So he was comfortable in his somewhat poverty. I mean, poverty wouldn't even really be the right case, but in that the government saw, oh, you're making under a certain amount of thousand a month. Well, we'll give you more, and so now you're doing good. Well, I don't think the government should have been supporting him because he was fully able-bodied. And again, I'm not saying it was wrong for him to take advantage of the system. It was just the system, and it's just how the system worked in Scotland at the time. It's probably worse nowadays. They'll probably pay you more to be not working than they'll pay you to work, or then you'll get paid working. And because not just maybe, well, you get paid more, but then they tax you so much that it'd probably be better just for everybody to stop working in Britain. Think about that, everybody. If you live in Britain, maybe you should stop working and just go on government assistance. So, so he was making a rational choice of how to maximize his income versus his time utilization. So, and I'll get to Beam Slam and Arno, your chat. We'll have to just in a moment. So, your government support in that it's redistributive because to pay him that extra money, and he lived in a small apartment, um, well looked after and whatever, but it was a small apartment and didn't own much and whatever. So he was dressed and acted very middle class kind of thing, but his income was not middle class income. Um, you know, and did not dress like a slob, shall we say. Dressed very nicely and whatnot. So but he did not have much income, and so so in that way he was comfortable in his poverty, and he was definitely in that sense. I mean, not impoverished in the sense of where can he find food or whatever. And yeah, he, like I say, he could have got even full time, I think, working and got entirely off government support for financial, obviously still be in the government medical system and whatnot, but for government support, get off full time on that, but go from working, I don't know, 20 hours a week or 18 hours a week or whatever it was, 2 days, 3 days, whatever, or 2.5 days or whatever it was, go from that to go to working a 40-hour work week and making $50, $100 more a week or something. So it was just like doubling your hours with only making a few dollars more a week. And so again, I understand it from his point, and I'm not complaining about him. And he wasn't even scheming the system in that he was defrauding it. I mean, yeah, he wrote his book, and I don't know how much he even got paid for it. I mean, because publishing costs, and don't know, it was a history book, so they don't necessarily sell much. So it wasn't like he was trying to defraud the system. He was just working the system within the parameters of the system and whatnot. So, and he wasn't a physically or mentally, full-time, permanently or temporarily handicapped person. He was, very capable of doing more. And so I'm just using him as an example. So when you're talking about redistribution, socialism in one form or another, extreme or minor, that's allowing something like that to happen, I think that's wrong for the system. I think it should be very much encouraging those that can to get jobs of any sort, and only barely support the people who can't. Now, we could talk about somebody temporarily handicapped, and we know one of the persons here is temporarily handicapped using crutches, but who had a job before that happened and will presumably have a job once he's healed up. And so that kind of support, yeah, okay, he can't work. Or if you're permanently, you can't work, well, maybe you can find a job sitting at a desk or something, but, learn to program, learn to code, maybe. But, if you're temporarily or permanently handicapped, that's a different matter to me. I mean, that's a very different matter to me that, oh, hey, yeah, and of course you can have, there is also, I talked about unemployment insurance and Social Security, but there's also workers' compensation, and that is for if you're injured on the job. Now, doesn't cover injuring off the job, but if you're injured on the job, that would pay for your salary and whatnot while you're getting, better. So there is that other, which is, again, something that you minorly, because very few people, as a percentage, get injured on the job to the point that they can't continue to do their job. It happens, but it's most people don't have that happen. So it's a very minor pay-in by both the employee and the employer that plays into this fund that will cover it. So it's another insurance. It's supposed to be, so long as the government isn't raiding these pools of money for other things, it's an insurance scheme. I don't mean scheme necessarily as bad, or insurance plan kind of thing. So that's different than redistributive, and it's sort of designed and should be designed to calculate, to just handle the pool of injured people at work, construction work, or you break your leg or whatever and you can't do construction, so you get time to heal up, whatever that is, and so long the approved doctors approve going through this, and so you don't, you get well before you go back to work. And so, yeah, there is, those are different than redistribution based upon somebody has something that you're taking that away, money in essence, and giving it to somebody else, even if it's not in both sides the form of money. And so that is where I draw the line. So let's take a look at the chat. I'm just trying to get better at my job, technical in nature, and there's a lot to learn. Very good, ZZ. Here, okay. Here, the unemployment insurance is solely private. And Beamslam is in Denmark, just to give the here. Often tied to the union you're a member of, if any. Otherwise, there is basic state paid benefits, but only cover food, meds, and rent, and is paid out when you have no other means. Yeah, so yeah, no, here it's a government managed unemployment insurance, like you're saying, but it's government managed through. Can you please do a walkthrough of the village? We will. When unemployed here, you have to work for the benefit. No staying at the couch. Yes. Now, back in the days of Bill Clinton, which have mostly had been repealed since him, he had set up, I think what they were sort of calling workfare at the time. To get your unemployment benefits, you needed to show up for government work, like cleaning roadsides or doing other sorts of unpaid, and it wasn't full time as far as I remember. Um, and it was only if if you were a single mother, you would have been exempt because obviously they would presume you're at home taking care of your children. Um, but if you didn't have whether you want to call it an excuse or a reason, you would have to show up to do the idea to get your welfare payments at some sort of job or scheme or whatever, to get your benefits and to try to make you uncomfortable, and so that even if it's only going to be marginally better, you would rather go take a job than continue to get government benefits. And so that, and again, because the left will always want to pull out the worst hardship cases. And I might entirely agree if we're just talking about the worst hardship cases within the welfare state of fully supporting somebody. Uh, and it gets harder as you're talking about older and older people because there's a lot of older people that are very fit and are very good at being Walmart greeters or other sorts of basic but useful jobs. Because a Walmart greeter, yeah, it's nice to have the friendly face at Walmart saying hi as you come in, but you can also ask that guy, where are the plumbing supplies or whatever, and he'll, and I actually, very interesting how the Walmart people now have phones, ones that are supplied by the company that they either say or type into the thing, and it'll come up with an answer of what aisle and what section of the aisle that product is on, if the whatever AI type search system can figure that out from what you're asking for. Where are the bananas? Oh, they're, and so, but that Walmart greeter will help you find the start of the store, whether it's just sending you to a certain section or to a specific place on the shelf, middle of whatever aisle, halfway up the shelf or something, so that they can be very precise in their information. So that is, you walk into some of these big Walmart super centers, they're huge, so not having to wander around. So it is a useful job, not just for putting somebody with a friendly face saying hi as you walk in. And so that, yeah, so it's a little harder to judge when, how, yeah, I got back pain when I wake up, and sometimes I've strained my back and it's for weeks or months, it's sort of kind of sore. Could I stand there and do a Walmart job? Yes, but maybe if I didn't stand there and do a Walmart job, my back pain, because right now I have basically none, and a few months ago I had considerable, nothing serious, but sort of stiff and whatnot. Just minor thing, shall we say. It's not a serious thing, but it comes and goes, and I don't always have a good reason as to why it's coming and going. But is my back pain enough to keep me from being a Walmart greeter? No. But should you have to be when you're older, at whatever age, and I'm not even at retirement age, I'm just saying, so when you're talking about older people, it's not as easy to define, how functional you are, and how much you should get. Okay, Beamslam says, same philosophy here, sometimes work, except if you have some kind of issues preventing you full-time job, meaning it's very individualist how effective it is, and sometimes it's counterproductive. Yeah, and no scheme or no plan or no whatever, and I don't necessarily mean scheme as in its generally in its pure negative sense. There is positive and negativity to it, but we got a lot of down logs here. It looks like good. That no one plan or no one scheme or whatever is going to always cover every single contingency to the best. And so this is, and we're going to continue, I'm going to continue here in a moment playing, and we will do Arno's ask for a walk through the village when we do that. And we'll continue to look at this as we continue to play, is where the core socialist, I don't want to say hardcore, I just mean somebody whose core values are socialism or communism, I think is wrong in that their desire that all of these people to be equal. And as we can see here, huge backyards for large productivity of, say, a orchard or carrot farm, or mild sort of backyards that are allowing chickens and pigs, about the same size over here. Medium size here that are, you can put an orchard here, you can put a, vegetable plot back here, but it's not going to be as big and productive as here. And we may make another road coming through here with just houses with because we can sort of see here. Oh, let me get to the right thing. I'm not actually going to build it, I think, right here, right now, but we can, let's go to here. That these are just would be, we're not going to do these here, but would just be the house with zero backyard. We may do the back street there. That, but that they're not equal, and that they don't need to or should be equal. This is where even if when we're coming off of the philosophy or the reality of the blending of private and government here with the landlord into it, however much collectively contributed to the development of, you didn't build that, the Lord isn't building all of this. Often in reality, when it was really small, he probably would be actually out there building alongside everybody else. That is not an excuse to take away from others to make others, try to make everyone equal. That, I think, is wrong to the point of being evil. And so they justify it, like we talk about, hey, somebody's out of work, or hey, somebody's injured. Don't they deserve, because they're human beings, some sort of support? Yeah, okay, we can talk about that. And that's where, and between Beamslam, Arno, and I, we may all have 3 different degrees of levels that support should be had for that type of supporting somebody, and have honest disagreements that we're all being, shall we say, reasonable about. But that is not, that's redistribution to the sort of minimum needs of society. That is, I guess, maybe the way I would right, no, left, left, right, yes, or no. It's where I would put it, and we could discuss. And without it, and I would say that that isn't socialism, even though it may have the same mechanic, because socialism, whether it in fact ever would be, and even if they would acknowledge that it wouldn't, in fact, actually make everybody equal, the goal is to make people equal. And the goal is to tax people simply to deprive them of their excess wealth. Whether it was beneficial or not to society, they still inherently want to tax the wealthy more, even if it has worse outcomes, just on the equality basis alone. And that is where I see it as being bad or evil, however you want to describe it. Um, it's taking something that somebody has earned. They may think that if you're earning more than somebody else, that is somehow unjust, but just simply taking, I could say justly earned or unjustly earned. Is it justly earned that a book author who sells 1 million copies of his book and gets paid $2 a copy of his book, so he's now made $2 million? Is that unjust profit? All he did was write one book, and somebody else wrote this same size of book, same quality, but they only sold 50,000 copies. Should there be redistribution between those two authors? Or somebody who exploits labor to make their money. Now they're paying the labor, but they're quote unquote exploiting it. And using heavy labor, could be farm labor, could be something else, and is making their money, shall we say, off the backs of somebody, as opposed to just simply, printing and selling a lot of books. It could be even not printing, selling, PDFs of books. But should they, even though they do anything, they just happen to own the farmland and hire everybody to do it, from managers down to fruit pickers or whatever, hire everybody and don't do anything, just sort of, and have an accountant check the books to make sure everything's right, and just, go to cocktail parties or whatever, so they're doing absolutely nothing for their profit, literally absolutely nothing for their profit, as somehow being unjust. And for the moment, I'm presuming they're paying legal wages, so society has decided that whatever minimum wages is a just wage. So that is where I see the socialist, the communist, the redistributionist as being wrong and evil, that they want to take what you've earned away from you. Hello. Oh boy, I'll call you Mania. That's a long thing. Leftists would say any positive outcome beyond the means is undeserved. Yes. Yeah, they are, whether it's out of envy or greed themselves, or just their belief that equality is a value. I do not value equality. Equality is nothing to value for me. And so, yeah, that's what they would say. You're absolutely right. I just think that that's wrong. I think that some are indoctrinated by schools. I remember way back when I was a kid, it was always the excuse that if you got caught chewing gum in class, well, did you bring enough for everybody in class? Now, no, I was going to a very middle class schools that, and I didn't necessarily as a kid maybe always have enough money to go buy gum. Okay, because I mean my parents could have easily have, you know, uh, given me a piece of gum every day. But out of my allowance and buying gum or something like that when I could afford it as an elementary school student early on, or something like that. But I'm sure all of my classmates' parents could give them a piece of gum, uh, pay for it every day if they wanted their child to have gum. I'm sure there were parents that didn't want their children to have gum or candy or whatever. But it was always, did you bring enough for the class? Uh-oh, you're in trouble because not everybody gets to have it. No, it was just the teachers and or the school because they didn't want gum stuck under the school desks or whatever. But that was probably just because they were banning gum as opposed to just you go throw it away in the trash. That, and still students would try to sneakily have gum. Uh, you know, because there's no other excuse other than we don't want students' mouths chewing gum, going ronk, 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 ronk in the middle of class, because it isn't like eating food or spilling, because you're rarely spilling gum. So it was used that sort of equality argument on you that not everybody gets to have it, that you get sort of trained as a youth, that I just think is wrong. And I think it's wrong to steal from one to give to the other. And just one last little thing before we get to our walkthrough here. um, they often call it Robin Hood, stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. No, he stole from the government, who was overtaxing the people and making them poor, and giving the money that the government had stolen back to the people. Robin Hood, at least the example in myth, whether there was a real Robin Hood or not, Robin Hood was an anti-socialist. He was an anti-big government, anti-tax guy. Not, I mean, there's oh, oh boy. There's one Robin Hood movie that really, really looks at it historically. Um, oh boy, I forget its title, but it's probably one of the lesser well-known ones, in which the Normans have sort of a Norman accent, sort of a somewhat French accent, and the Saxons have a more British Saxon accent, and they're really sort of looking at the sociological variance of what's going on there, as opposed to, though of course the best Robin Hood movie is still The Adventures of Robin Hood, starring Errol Flynn and Olivia de Havilland in Technicolor. That's still the best as a movie, not the best history, but the best as a movie. But let's see what meaning is. Social studies, history, and English teachers are especially enjoying indoctrinating. Absolutely. Hello, Extreme Finger. And yes, Jan. What is the difference between equality and equity in your book? The French is always the evil, yes. Um, but were they French? Yes, sort of. They were Normans, Norman French, Norseman French. Danes, in other words. They were Danes. They were evil Danes. And that's what the English call Scandinavians. They call them Danes, the evil Danes. But French, they were Danes that had become French. So they were doubly evil. Yes. Equality and equity. Huh. My understanding of equity is and I was hearing the term, some woman in the last 2 or 3 days lost her, not she was an outside contractor, shall we say, but a job is in, a scheduled performance of her job, not whatever. That she was going to go give a talk to a government agency, to people in the government agency on environmental justice. Now, I don't know if that was, and I know I'm sort of getting off of your topic there, but environmental justice as in sort of a DEI, diversity, whatever, equity, inclusivity, as environmental justice as in the environment of the workplace that you're getting justice, because environment can mean all kinds of things. Or if they meant like the natural environment of the world, like when we talk about environmentalist societies that are trying to, have clean air, clean water, preserve the forests and preserve whatever. I don't know what for sure in her mind or her talk was when environment, but then justice was added onto it. Whenever you put anything in front of justice, like social justice, you're no longer talking about equal justice. You're talking about justice based upon something else, which isn't justice. Class justice, racial justice. It's not equal justice. It's not individual justice based upon you and what you may or may not have done in your life, or specific event or whatever. Equity is not equality. Equity is the belief that somebody, at least this is my understanding how the word is used. And words can be, the same word can mean different things depending on its context. And I don't mean just like the word to in English, two things, going to a store or too much. I mean, because those are different, spelled different ways. They're different words that sound the same. I mean the same word in different fields. In chemistry versus I don't know, geometry or something. You may have the same word, but it means different things in different, sort of specified fields. But my understanding, with equity is that based upon certain distinctions, class distinctions, racial distinctions, you should get certain outcomes, often because you're somehow, the lower you are, the more oppressed you are on the oppression scale, the more benefits, the more boosting up, the more extra slots for people of your group, left-handed Eskimo, trans, lesbian out there should be, get really high benefits because they have all these, oppression Olympics added onto it, so that you hire more of those than straight black men. I mean, they're already black men, so they're down on the oppression a bit, but they are men, so they're higher than black women. But they're not trans, or they're not gay, they're straight. So that is all equity, as opposed to equality is like, oh hey, yeah, we don't care what your skin color is or your gender is. What is your score on this test? Whether it's something in school or or just a test like how smart are you to how good are you at numbers or math to do a job, and pass this your score on the test, and then we'll judge that purely on who we hire. That would be not equality of outcome, but that would be equality of, we're looking at who we're hiring based purely upon your skill set. And yeah, not everybody's going to get the job. The other equality is another way to do equality would be is, oh, we have 10 job slots. Oh, we got 200 people applied. We'll do a lottery. So it's equal. We don't know who we're picking out of the pot. The job, the smarter, it's not like a routine or rote job. It's smartness counts, but we don't care. We're just going to pick, randomly, and maybe they, even out of the 200, they may have had minimum qualifications and they all passed the minimum qualification, but we're not going to pick on any skill set or personality traits. We're just going to randomly pick people. That would be another equality thing, because it's blind and it's random and everyone has an equal chance at getting the job. But as opposed to equality based not on your skin color, or equality based on your gender or your sexual preference or whatever, just equality on everybody's equal except performance, like I say, taking a test to figure out qualifications for a job. So equity and equality, and I hope I've given those the extreme finger some of the ideas that I would have defining those two. Equity really means the sort of justice based on less arbitrary standards. For example, Shylock taking a pound of flesh is justice from the conceptual point of view, but not equitable. Yeah, it to me, the big difference between, like you say, social justice and justice. If 5 millionaires stole money somehow to become millionaires, and I don't necessarily mean like rob banks, but cheated on their taxes or defrauded people, they're saying that your batteries will last 10 hours and they only last 7 hours, but they cost the same amount as another company's batteries, actually lasted 10 hours. And so you made your money because you made cheaper batteries that didn't last as long, but you sold them at the same price. And so you defrauded the people and you didn't get caught. If 5 millionaires did that to get rich, they want to blame all the other 20 millionaires. Well, you must all not have deserved it. So since you're millionaires, and millionaires, the only way you get rich, even if we can't catch you, is by doing something criminal. So we're going to penalize you more for your success based upon your class, as opposed to going, oh, hey, we've now found that such and such batteries are false advertising. Go to jail or be fined or whatever it is, whatever punishment it is for your criminal actions individually, because you did a criminal action, or your company that you were responsible for did a criminal action, or whatever. That, see, equal justice, or based upon an individual justice based upon actions you have done, not what your ancestors may or may not, may prove that, oh, hey, yeah, your ancestors 5 generations ago owned a slave. So, well, that slave benefited you, blah, blah, blah. That's now no longer based on you. It's based upon actions of things you have nothing you can control of. So that is the idea here that I think is wrong. So if you want to make it, you need your pound of flesh because somebody did something wrong. Okay. You need your pound of flesh because somebody else did something wrong. No, no, no. Okay. Let's take a walk through of the town here. Let's come over here. Let's Click the eyeball. Okay, so we will walk along our tab. Oh, let's stop this for a moment. I want to make a save just in case something goes wrong enough during our walkthrough. You don't want to go this way, yes. During our walkthrough, we can go back to the save because the clock will be ticking while we walk through. Oh yes, ZZ, I do like Manor Lords. It is still in early access. I have quibbles. I have, both some history stuff quibbles, some other element quibbles to the game, but it's definitely a good Manor Lords. I think ultimate, Manor Lords is a good title for it, but it's somewhere between making a game that simulates being a lord of a manor and simulates a city builder. So it's okay, he wants me to go into the pig and chicken garden. That's right through here. I think this is Sev 82's place. He has pigs. Just for game notes, every 150 days, the pig place generates 2 meat, and we'll come through here. Where's the gate? Okay, and this is into Beamslam's place. He has chickens. See the chicken coop? That looks like a cool chicken coop. It's off the ground. It's sort of kind of protected from foxes or other things. I guess you could probably shut a door on that coop there. The chickens will voluntarily go into their coops at night. You do not, generally speaking, have to chase them in. Yeah, there are sometimes you get a rebel chicken or rooster or something that will try to escape or not want to go in, but most realize that it is a relatively safe place. And yes, humans come in and take their eggs. Don't know if that's stealing or not, but take their eggs and periodically will butcher some of them, but overall their chicken community gets to keep on being on. So whether it's a social contract or not, and see this is where I've been trying to not use the term social contract because that is part of the social contract theory versus organic theory. I think that both the idea that chickens, as well as other animals like the oxen and others that have been domesticated, have a natural grand bargain that yes, they may stand around and watch one of their kind get killed, literally stand around and watch them, get killed and slaughtered, and then go off and do their job by the same person that killed and slaughtered the other one. And come at the call, and how much of that is fear versus, hey, that same person that's calling me to come, he's also giving me food every single day. And if they were humans, that might not be quite as, yeah, you can condition people into being slaves, definitely, but we don't think that's right anymore. At least most Western people don't think it's right. But they do, of course, Western people still think, I think if they really thought about it, think conscription is right, in times, not necessarily conscription and be sent off into some war in some desert or jungle often some foreign place, but defending the homeland, I think most people would agree that conscription is still right. And that is a type of enforced activity. $5 per chicken. Well, that's sort of expensive. I think it's either $5 or $5.99 on Thursdays. I think it's on Thursdays. I can get a whole fried chicken. Well, no, rotisserie chicken. Whole chicken, rotisserie up, ready to eat for $5 or $5.99 on Thursdays. You can get them any time of the week, but at the grocery store. But they're only, I think it's $5.99, or maybe it's $5 or $4.99. I forget, but right at about that price on Thursdays, trying to get you in on Thursday. I think it's like $7 or so bucks, $7 or $8 the other time. So it's a sale, and that's of course been transported from whatever farm. It's been gutted and plucked and all of that, and then taken to the grocery store and actually roasted in the grocery store. So all that extra labor. Well, it's several. Well, it's both chains that I know of that do this are Ralph's in California and Fry's in Arizona. Those are owned by Kroger, which is a major grocery store brand. So very ecological, not some factory plastic chicken here, prime quality. Well, maybe your quality is better. I don't know, but yes. Some people purely on the quote unquote ethical grounds because they see the sort of factory farming of chickens in America and don't think it's appropriate. I don't have enough information to know. I don't think I would want to live that way, but I'm not a chicken. No diet yet. We suspect the eggs maybe. Okay. I just got walked through. See, like I just got walked through. There's still, some issues with the game. Yay! I'm a ghost. Let's see if we can walk into the church. I don't know if we get to go through the door there. We'll see. At least it's opening and closing for them, though there is a big step here. Now, one of the reasons for this step is potentially somewhat uneven ground, and so that they all, no, I can't even go in even when they open the door. I'm not allowed. I'm an evil ghost. I can't go onto holy ground or something. Okay. So yes, there are issues. No died yet. We suspect the eggs, maybe. So yeah, if you could, in a modern sense, if you could somehow clearly articulate that with a lot of people that I know, and even myself to some degree, articulate that, oh, hey, we feed our chickens X, and the big factory farms feed them Y, and Y clearly isn't as good as X for chickens fed on whatever. Yeah, then maybe your $5 or $5.99, or no, just $5 chicken, uncooked, just neck broken or whatever is, or even maybe still alive, is worth it. Ghost of Christmas Past, maybe. Okay, let's now take a look here. All right, so we are coming up on spring soon. We have a granary that still has 181. 101. No, 181. 181 berries. Let's look at trade. Food, berries, 250. Okay, let's reduce this down to 150. Probably a way to make this happen in bigger chunks. Yeah. Because I think we're going to make it through the winter with this. 150. All right. That will keep a minimum of 150 in storage. So, of course, as we use, we can see this food stall, some berries and some eggs. This food stall, some meat and berries. In designing this, we still have 4 living spaces available, but I am restricting heavily. No, where's market? Am I just missing it here? That's the well, small tavern, church, graveyard. We haven't had any casualties yet. Oh, there's the marketplace. Okay, again, I have found, particularly with the old map, if you make a big market here, which could be useful, some of these places may be too far away. So you make a small market. You can tear it down and rebuild it. Okay, that's too small. Let's go. Let's start it. Okay, that looks like 4 spaces. But we'll increase some market stalls down here, a little further away from the granary and the tannery and the storehouse, but it'll still be there. We have some bows. Okay, what I'm going to do here is, okay, advanced. No, I okay. Hopefully this will stop production. Wish there was just a pure building will stop production if the region's resource meets or exceeds this limit. Okay, so long as we have 30 right now, so long as we have 9 or whatever in storage, he'll stop working. Now, the negative element of this game here, because it is a game, is that he won't go do other things. So once they stop crafting here, they won't do more things. But we should now have, okay, 16 and 16. And we can get up to 20 of these, and we'll get more of that, more bows as we get more people. Now, okay, we want to, of course, attract more people coming into our town. I think we'll just go to here. I do want to clear out some of this and shift and move in time, but not just yet. Let's see what we can do here. And I'm specifically doing this to make unequal housing because we are not all equal. We've hunted them down to 12. And I'll keep it at 12, but what we're going to do is stop. There's somebody there, they can go work on building houses or some other endeavor until they built up the woodcutter's lodge is. So what we'll come to, oh, okay, storehouse is full. Okay, we don't need more wood cutting. So let's stop that. So we got that. Again, we are limited because we can see there's a bunch of fallen logs out here that they've cut that they've been unable to move. So they're going direct. New message. We'll be ready. Okay, so now, like I say, we now, because normally the raiders come in strength 18. So, and maybe as time goes on, they'll get bigger raiding parties. But we should be better off here.
Give me a hammer and something.
Right. Is it snapping to? Is it tab to? Plays.
Come one, come all.
So,
Feast
yeah.
your eyes on our fine selection.
Yeah. Also build that when you get a chance to. After we get done building some of those houses. And let's come out here. We don't have a huge population, so we'll just start with one decent field. This field is going to be wheat, but we'll leave it fallow until we get a farmhouse built, and then we can put people to working in the fields.
Summer's coming soon, and soon the beating sun.
I think we can this season get enough grown.
Meat so tender.
So we'll have 7 houses available that don't have people living in them.
Step right up and say.
It's good. I don't know that at this scale we need 7, but it's good to have a few so that since we do have a 70% approval rating,
Poor quality,
we can attract more people, that is.
This is a veritable masterpiece of carpentry. Solid as a rock, and twice as heavy.
Well, let's see.
Fresh
So
meat. Get your fresh meat
he cannot, his back workshop area is full, if you will. They are not. So, well, they already are a chicken coop. Okay, they're a chicken coop. So let's come to here and go with animal pen.
Berries so plump and juicy.
We'll take a little bit of construction needs too.
Berries.
So what should we call, maybe somebody already has a good term for it, but what should we call a community, which is a type of collective or whatever, that is tax taxing things for the, and we can talk of their government waste and foreign aid to ungrateful people or governments or whatever. I mean, I'm not talking about that. But is taxing people only for what is, is what, again, it can be badly mishandled. But things for the collective good, meaning police, armed forces, road building, stuff that people are going to be using in common, so the common good. Okay, we're going to turn this into a wheat field, and we're going to um, let's put 5 families. That's moderately big. We'll see how this goes. So taxing for the common good, as well as taxing for the minimum need of um, redistribution for, people, individuals. Like we talked about earlier, people in true need for whatever it may be, permanent, temporary, um, but not in any way trying to create or desiring equality. You know, poor is quite acceptable in my mind as a term or idea. I think this time we will go with goats, so we do a mix of hides and meats. So we'll get the goats. But poor doesn't to me mean destitute. It just means the people at the lower level of the economic pyramid of your society, which could mean everyone has a color TV, an air conditioner, internet connection, some sort of, not the latest PC, not the newest PC, not the newest 590 graphics card, but has a computer, more than just on a, modern phone computer, but, a laptop, a desktop, but it could be, older or more simpler. Poor does not mean destitute. Poor does not mean in the streets and necessarily in a society. Some societies that may exactly what it means, but I'm presuming poor could be somebody who has a car. It's just 20 years old and ramshackle. So there will always be the poor with us, because even in a rich society, somebody, and I think it's right and just and good that some people have less than others. I do not want to attempt the idea that we should try for equality. Um, I think equality is a bad thing, because I hope not just able to, but should, people who have special skills to be the bowyer or talents of being the. Okay, the other thing we need to do here is get going with this. And what we're going to do here also is cut this down. That's already cut down. What are we doing for the saw pit? We're ending their production. Tannery. Well, we can probably do that. Okay, so that keeps us with people for farming, people for. Well, what more are we building? Not much right this moment. So, do that momentarily. Equality for the law is fair. Yeah, okay, yeah, but we're talking economics here. We're not talking about um, should some people be allowed to drive faster down the road than other people, or should I don't know what um, which that may be a legal thing. We're not talking about um, social equality. We're talking about social equality. Yeah, yeah. In the you might have somebody with a title that and I know it's sort of gone out in my lifetime, but within my lifetime, there was the House of Lords, and that was purely an inherited, or yeah, if you did something special and made a lord, um, whether just for your generation or for generations to come, you could go sit in the House of Lords. But um, yeah, and that is socially not equality, obviously. But if you murdered somebody in the house, you were a lord, you'd still, be given a trial and go to prison and whatnot. So that's different. We're not talking, and so even socially, meaning I am not against the idea that have, um, very much not for sure against the idea of going and saying, hey, you did something special. We're going to make you a knight. And a knight might let you get on this, the subway for free if you just show your knighthood badge or something. And there may be some special privileges for being a knight within your society, especially if you did it. And then, hey, you know what? I'm willing to give Churchill's, descendants special privileges for saving the Western world, and it may go for a few generations, and it may be unfair, um, in the sense that the other people that don't, whose ancestors, very well may have died. I mean, you can have children and then go and die saving the Western world. Fighter pilots in the Battle of Britain, or an underground, um, you know, uh, fighter in against the Nazis or something, and have no real acknowledgement of it versus what Churchill did. But yeah, I'll give Churchill and his descendants. I know he refused titles because he wanted to stay in the House of Commons and whatnot. But if you wanted to make him, because his brother was the Duke of Marlborough, um, so yeah, I mean he comes from a very very elitist background. Um, but yeah, so if you want to have nobility, and even ancestral nobility with special social and privileges, which is something before the law, that's slightly different. But yeah, if you murder somebody or if you get caught speeding, you still pay the speeding ticket. Now maybe you're rich enough to pay the speeding ticket every single day, and if you're not speeding enough that it's considered reckless driving, meaning obviously endangering others, well then you take away their driver's license if it's okay. I'm going to add one more to this farmhouse because that's turning out to be a very big field. Okay, and I think we're going to shut down the trading post to give another person here. We got 2 on the granary duty, 1 here. We're going to take that down, and we're going to add 1 more here. That field's a bit big without a plow, when we have yet to get to the plow. So yeah, some actual legal codified in laws special privileges at some level. Like I say, for certain types of, and I just see it. Yeah, we're not in America or whatever, but yeah, and it's America. Yes, we have medals of honor or whatever, but we do have titles. Being a senator, even if you're no longer in the Senate, you still get to be called senator. And if you're no longer an ambassador, but you've been an ambassador, you get to keep that title for yourself for life. Same with judge. If you were ever a judge, you can always use the title of judge, even though you no longer, whether you retired or, and some judges are periodically, you have to be voted either to stay in office or voted into office, depending on whatever. So you may be a judge no longer sitting as a judge and still be, Judge Smith or whatever. You still have that title. So we do have titles in America that are, as well as doctor or other things that are individually earned. None of them, to my knowledge, are hereditary titles in America, but we do still sort of have that. And so yeah, but basic law, basic legal things the same. So yeah, so I am for inequality. I approve of inequality. I like wealth gap inequality. I think wealth gap inequality is good because, um, So again, so long as we can't prove significant criminal violations, because everybody breaks the law, and the big companies somehow are going to break the tax code law somewhere in some manner. But so long as it's not a real criminal enterprise, however you want to define that, I want people to get super wealthy. But again, we shouldn't have people starving on the streets. You know, that's the problem. Not that some people are super wealthy and have 6 private jets. And yes, because they have themselves and their kids could take a private jet to school every day, because they live in one state and take school in another state, and it's a 1 hour flight. And they fly to school and they get out and they go to school and they fly back home. To me, that doesn't mean that somebody else has less. I am against the equality idea like that. Just because somebody has more doesn't mean isn't the reason somebody is in need. So, but what do we call a society that has a certain level of collective responsibility? I don't know. I'm serious. I'm asking you, people that are alive or later, what should we call this? Because it isn't an economic philosophy, as in capitalism or communism or mercantilism. It's not based on and it isn't like a most what we call social democrats in Europe are. Oh, there's our trader, goes from town to town. Um, and he's coming to our trading post or wandering around here. I think he's our trader. Um, our Even though we no longer have anybody at the trading post to trade with them. They believe in a general capitalistic society with a large social welfare program that redistributes wealth. So instead of, communism or socialism with the people through the government collectively owning the means of production, meaning most, again, nothing's pure because you may have the medical industry that's public, not private, or something, but most major means of production are privately held, whether by an individual or through the masses with stock. All these people could all have stock in this enterprise, but they can buy and sell and trade, so it is an equal ownership of stock, because maybe he sells 2 of his shares of stock over to this guy, and he still may have 200 shares, but this guy now may have 202 shares or something. So you may not have equal ownership in the means of production, but everyone may have privately through that. So, but the idea that yes, we have some minimum levels of social welfare, economically, but it isn't social democracy or whatever you want to call that. Social democrats. What should this term be? And I don't know that required. Yeah, so we have a few that aren't met. Mostly this guy here who wants to have a tavern. And this guy too, and don't have enough clothing supplies. So we're not producing, well, we have a tannery, but we have um, no hides there. Is this where we have, no, that's where we have no, okay, here. We have this, so we can look at general, there's generic storage, so that would be, they have 2 hides that could be tanned. Out here, we've let this grow up to 15. We're going to let it get up to 20 before we send somebody over there. And so, yeah, I don't know where. I think this winter we'll go out and because they've plowed, they're now stowing the seeds here. So scientifically, just spew them out on the ground. Oh, I think they understood a reasonable density of seating and all of that.
Summer's coming soon, and soon the beating sun.
What is Arno doing right now? We can, let's see, I think, let's see here. Is this Arno's house? People, yes, Arno. Arno is sewing. Is this Arno? No, it looks like it. There's Arno. Yeah, I think that's you right there. You're out there casting seeds upon.
Summer's coming soon, and soon the beating sun.
Oh no, no, we got. No, he's a farmer. Jorg. I don't know. Oh, Arno. Arno's become. Oh, well, no, that's Beatrix. There's Arno in the hat. That's Arno in the hat right there. That's Barbara. That's Arno right there. That's Arno there with the straw hat and sort of brown tunic and sort of russet leggings. There we are. Well, we have a bunch of people in the fields. Beam Slam is transporting. He's a granary worker, so you work in the granary. You're going back and forth right now to the people that are picking the berries and carrying them to the granary. Yanuska is also farming right now, but currently waiting. Because we have two families without specific duties, meaning they'll do construction or other sorts of needs. We have three and three families here going through this until April, so they'll keep growing more berries. I think we're actually going to add one more granary worker too. Now, okay. We're going to need a no. Oh, let's see. What am I? Cancel, rotate. See if we can rotate this around. There we are. We want it to face the road to have road access. Right across the way from the farmhouse. Not a full-time chicken guy. No. Chickens are sideline. Chickens are extra. And that's part of which I knew in this game. We're doing both the orchards, the vegetable plots. Those are extra. They mean you get paid in theory or whatever for whether it's your farm work or your granary work, carrying stuff, from the you know from the forager's hut or from the hunting camp, or once we make the bread to the granary, maybe the wheat also there. Um, so you're carrying that as well as taking it to the food stalls and manning the food stalls. That's sort of your main job. Your side hustle is chickens and eggs. Yeah, Dutch windmill. Once they get around to building it, we just have one family currently on generic sort of get it done work. And it's raining. And so this is, we wanted to get a couple of houses here to get to the next plot level. Now we do want to get 3 more to get to the next unlocking of things, but which trapping might be a good one. Pelt extraction gets, hunters also collect height traps as opposed to the hunting. Advanced skinning, which doubles the amount of meat produced by hunters. Plows could be good for better wheat with bakeries as opposed to extension. Now this is putting the bakery into the house. Fertilization, fence, yes. So we have upgrades there, but also by upgrading without getting a tavern supply is not necessarily good, or better clothing supplies. Right now we are nearly full on our firewood, primarily, but also other. Do we have anything in this marketplace? We have one food stall here with nothing in it. Well, let's actually pause it. Since we're no longer sowing the field, we're going to reduce this down to at least that at the moment. I don't think there's anything more we need to do. But we can, we got a lot of wood. You know, okay, what I think we also could do here is, well, maybe not the tannery. Well, we could, let's turn the tannery back on, see if they can do it good. But here, storehouse, upgrade to a larger storehouse. Yes, I think we have the necessary needs for that, so we'll upgrade that as well. Man, she hammers fast. They need a better term for farmhouse. What would be the term should we use here? Not farmhouse. Because nobody, house is somebody lives in. Barn? Because a barn can be for animals, or it can be for like storage of grain, or because it's not necessarily like a silo that's dedicated, but storage for, you know, stalks of wheat, you know, not unprocessed, whatever. Maybe a barn would be a better term for it. Or farm building, maybe. Frantic activity, yes. Almost done. We need 2 of the logs. Let's see. We have hitching post here. I think maybe we should move that. Relocate that to here. Let's put that to here. That way, eventually, I know we have the water, the well here, but we can't. Well, we can move it, yes, but limited to where the underground streams are, or flows, or whatever we want to call them. So we might move it a little bit for because I want to upgrade it to a small stable. We need an inn for a Sunday chill. Well, that's okay. An inn, no, but a tavern, yes. That's the is what we need here. Here we need a tavern, but to make a tavern work, we need ale. So we need to produce ale. So we need to have enough farm workers, farmland, exposed stocks. Oh, here, meaning here they have over stored some stuff. Maybe not there. Maybe it's this one. I don't know, but it's being taken away. Okay, but we need ale. So we need to grow barley and then turn it into malt. So we need a malt house. And then we need a brewery to brew the ale. And I think the only way to do that is, let's put another one of these over here. Yeah, is a brewery extension to a house, which we could do, but we've got to upgrade it to the next level, which we're going to be doing some of that anyways. And obviously, we also need some planking. But the big thing is getting some farmland into, um, you know, what um, barley production here, and then malting it into there. So, assume you'll be done with the stream soon-ish. Yeah. Thank you, ZZ. Have a fun time at the grocery store. But yes, we do need a tavern, and the and a tavern, like I say, is no good without the or doesn't have a positive effect without having um, ale in the tavern. So I've not just plunked one down, but you are right. That is the next major um, social structure level building, and of course we can go to a small stone church as a improvement as well. So for stone, we do have out here. We don't. This is iron way out there, so we are sort of way out for that. But we're getting more stone for improved things like a improved granary, because that we do need stone as well, which we don't have yet, as well as the stone church, etc. Our militia, okay, we're at 19 and 19. We can take care of a certain number of bandits fairly well if they come. Now, if too many come in, we can, let's see, look at mercenaries. So we don't have a lot of money, but we could get a couple of groups of brigands here to help defend ourselves from other brigands. Carlsbad not come by this place anytime soon. I guess that's a type of beer or something. I don't know. We still have 4 unfilled living spaces. Could be those 4. But we don't need more just yet on housing. But I definitely wanted to get the means of production for bread, which the next thing is bakery. Where is bakery? Right. That's a food cart. There. Or communal oven. Okay. Okay, we need stone for that. So I guess the next thing we have to do here is, well, our wheat won't go to waste. It'll get either turned into flour or turned into just this wheat. Yeah. Stone cutters camp. Well, we need some more planks. So let's get the saw pit working. Yeah, beer Danish. I figured it was something like that. Yeah, stolen by bandits. We're going to go after the bandit camps this winter once we're no longer harvesting berries or whatever. So we'll have more, the people will not be taken too much away from other very useful work while going marching out there to go after the bandit camp. Because if you kill the bandit camps, you'll get some money and maybe some other resources, basically getting some of the stuff they've stolen back. Plus, you'll stop the raiding of the sort of raiding that we're seeing when I hover over here. Resource stolen by nearby bandits. Now, we still get periodic raids coming in of bandits as well. Do the goats here give us both meat and hides very slowly. Now let's all right. Well, I want to thank Beam Slam, ZZ, who I know has just left, Arno. Who else am I forgetting here? We call Mania. I don't want to even try to pronounce that rather, I don't know, well-developed name. Jan, Extreme Finger here for hanging out with me and contributing to the stream. I love talking with you guys. Eric, if you're still around, thank you. Jamnuska, if you're still around, thank you. I hope we will be back tomorrow for some War Thunder. So I hope you guys will come and join me then. But thank you all. Have a very good day or evening.